Hey guys, welcome back to some more AFK Arena. Today we're over on the pay to win account and we are looking at the hunting grounds. So ultimately, since this event has been released, a lot of players haven't been too happy with the hunting fields, not really being able to make progression, kind of being stuck for a lot of it. Also with a lot of problems in the hunting fields itself. I'm going to go over the top 5 things that I would love to see them change within the hunting fields. So number 5, feeding everything to one player. So when you look at all of the heroes that are on the very, very top of the leaderboard, everybody has just been feeding everything to literally one player is the only way that you can really progress. Possibly a second player adding up a little bit of totals there, but for a majority of it, it is just one player that is getting everything fed to them, allowing them to level up past a certain point, and then ultimately they can destroy the bosses. The rest of the heroes are going to be there for, or the rest of the players are going to be there just for pathing and to also take your 100 seals, and again to feed the one hero or the one player that's actually going through and fighting off the bosses with the team comp that you're using. It seems like the Graveborns are working very, very well. Ultimately, it seems Grez is okay. In this team, I actually did go with the Wilders. Wilders, I haven't seen too much play. Even with Saurus being maxed out at 4, doesn't seem like he does the most damage. So a little bit disappointed there. But on the Graveborn account, which I stacked, Isolde is definitely not the go-to. It seems Grez does a significant amount of damage over what he does. And I think that is due to the fact that the bosses are not doing enough damage to Isolde to actually affect him enough. So a little bit of a change when it comes to the team comp, which is why number 5, feeding everything to one player. It's kind of a silly aspect. Imagine if you did it on the Abyssal Expedition side, it would be kind of similar. Number 4 is the runes. So when you get a hero, you can pick up runes, which are exclusive runes right here, guys. So a lot of the runes that I've picked up have been for heroes that I do not even have in my formation. I picked up one earlier on the Mauler account for Verk. Verk wasn't in my formation. I'm not using Verk, unfortunately, but ultimately picking up runes. So I would love them to see them do something different with the runes. Even when we look at Belinda, for instance, boom, here is all of our runes for every hero that you can have within the faction. So either if they limited the runes by class, I think would be very, very cool to see, or if they limited runes by faction, I think it would be very cool to see. For instance, if you had a rune that dropped and let's say it was for the Graveborn and it was a tank rune, you could use the tank rune for the Graveborn, or if it was just a tank rune in general for any tank of any faction. They could change it up. I don't like, again, with it being very, very specific, because if a rune drops for a hero that you're not using, that's idle, that you haven't built, especially as you get further into the hunting fields, you're ultimately not going to use it, or it's on a hero that you're not going to use it for, which can be very disappointing. And that is number 4, guys. I do think they need to change up the runes just a little bit to make it a little bit easier for some players to get through. Number 3, and I know for a lot of people, this is really the big one, is the Challenger Seals. So when you look here in our bags, we actually have the Challenge Seals. These are the items that are required to attack a boss. They're very, very far in between. If you end up attacking a boss and using multiple Challenger Seals, chances are you're not going to kill them. And if you do kill them, you're really limiting all the other bosses that you can kill because you don't get enough of these seals. I know it is kind of by design, but when you look at some of the bosses, even the ones that we have faced here, they have been really hard to kill because of those Challenger Seals being limited, where the bosses, like right here with Zafriel, is very easy to kill. We took Zafriel down really, really quick, doing a ton of damage to him. But ultimately, when it came to taking down some of the mini-bosses, the mini-bosses were far tougher than it was to take down Zafriel, than it was to take down the gate bosses. Again, not knowing if that is by design. But ultimately, once we hit the next level, which looking up here, we're Master right now. We're moving on to the next rank pretty soon. Ultimately, going through here and running out of runes, so you can't kill the bosses, especially once you get a little bit further into the campaign, because remember, this only runs for 6 days, and then the 7th day is quiet time, meaning you're not going to be able to do anything during that time. So essentially, you only have 6 days to come through here, kill the bosses, get all of your marks, use all your stamina. It is definitely a mini Abyssal Expedition, and that's exactly what they were looking for. Just definitely needs some tweaks. Number two, so the big number two is when you look at the difference between the tier 3s, the tier 4s, and the tier 5s. So looking up here, I just leveled up to where my tier 4 turned to yellow. We tried taking over some of these together, could not take them, which it is literally impossible. So we're right here. Neither of these steps you can move. So you're actually kind of stuck here because you have to take down this camp. Right now where we're at, we cannot even dent this camp. It is showing up in red. It is very, very tough. It is a camp tier 5. So that is the highest tier. I believe that they are. I'm not sure if there's a tier 6 because there is, I believe, the final boss. But ultimately, I'm not sure exactly what we're going to have to get through this tier 5. And again, I think it goes back to my first point is we did not feed everything to every player. We spread it out among the players. So ultimately, it was very, very challenging to take down the bosses. And then when it goes to the tier 4 and when it comes to the tier 5 towns or the camps, we can't take them down. We tried this even when you look at my Saurus. We tried this with a couple different team comps. We have one mythic rune there. Still couldn't take down the team comps that were in there. Very, very tough, which again, we didn't feed everything to one person, which I'm hoping that's going to be a change again. They're going to make, because ultimately it seems that is the only way to get through this is go ahead and stacking one faction, one player, and just running through here with max relics out for that one hero. And the final, guys, number one is the inactive players. They have absolutely devastated the hunting fields. So essentially, if a player is inactive, such as looking at the bag right here, we have a couple relics in other bags, but right here is the Challenger seals from MS. Now, MS is in here. He is active, but we just leveled up. We got those Challenger seals. So essentially, as you're progressing through the levels, so as you're going through your squad levels, it gets to a point where if somebody is inactive, they are going to be sitting on the Challenger tokens, which again are by far the most important thing when it comes to this event. They will be sitting on all of their Challenger seals. And honestly, if you have one person or two people inactive out of your squad of 5, you're probably not going to finish the event. I don't know how difficult the final boss is going to be. We have not reached that yet, but ultimately, I don't see how you're going to overcome the obstacle of the Challenger seals going to inactive players. So that is something that Lilith is really going to have to adjust and take into consideration is the players that are inactive, guys. So that is it. So that is 5-1. Number 5, feeding everything to one player. I kind of dislike that. It takes away from the team aspect of it all. I know we're just collecting loot to feed it to one person. Number 2, number 4, the exclusive runes. I wish it was by class or maybe by faction would be a different way to do it. Challenger seals definitely need to rework something, maybe an achievement or a quest or something you could do to earn a couple extra Challenger seals, especially if you're attacking bosses too early and you don't have an opportunity to kill them. You're not going to build up the relics essentially to kill the boss. Number 2 was the T1 or T3 to tier 4 to tier 5. The town, the difficulty of the towns is too much. It needs to be narrowed a little bit. Maybe tier 3s give a little bit more of your hunter's marks, or maybe just the overall scalability of the towns need to be a little bit lower, because even where we're at now, they're very, very difficult to kill. And then the number one that they have to address is the inactive players, guys. If you come in here and again, 1 or 2 players are inactive, chances are you're not going to go ahead and finish this out, which looking at the rank, we are right there, defeat Adrex. So if you do not defeat him, you are not going to get the final loot. You're going to be missing out on that tier 3 stone. Unfortunately, you do have to kill the boss in this one. There is no option. That is ultimately what you have to do is go ahead and take out that boss to hit the final level. So guys, let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Let me know what challenges you guys are having in the hunting ground. And as always, thank you guys for watching.